Alright, I'm here today at March 3rd, 2014, Dalhousie University, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Looking at the news lately, it's, obviously, Ukraine is the biggest item going right now. And there's, again, saber rattling, I should say, going on about this. Now, don't get me wrong, I do not in any way agree with Putin or his actions, his anti-lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual laws, pretty much like they put on crooks, Young Turks, is state-sanctioned hate. He's corrupt. It's just not, bad. However, geopolitical stuff is not about I like the guy or don't. There's a lot of other stuff that you have to take into consideration. And let's not forget the United States also is not standing on really high moral ground. Guantanamo Bay has people who have never been charged, let alone, anything. They just were picked up, thrown in jail, no rights, no nothing, have not had any sort of any charges brought up against them. They're just sitting for over a decade in a jail. The U.S. also drone attacks people in other countries that are supposed to be allies, like Pakistan. They have one of the highest incarceration rates of people going. They do 5 times more kids than any other country. So they're not standing on too high moral ground either. Now, that's again out of the way. They're talking about how we need to make Putin step back or do sanctions against him. Not understanding the full picture. Sanctions work when you've got the stronger economy and stuff. Russia's the ninth largest economy in the world. So right off the bat, they're not as worried. Now, sorry, I'm just rambling a little bit right now here. I'm trying to pull up some information. 2 things. There is a thing called BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. There is a sort of that's more of an economic trade agreement going back and forth. That is there for them. So they're not. They have good trade. China doesn't care about sanctions anyways because they're pretty set in their ways. There's also a thing called the Shanghai collaboration, which is involved, again, Russia, China, Uzbekistan, a couple other areas. India is actually one of the, it's a viewer, so it's not actually, it's an observer state. It's not actually part of it, but it's still there. Now, this one has also military ties as well, so there's economic and military agreements there. So keep that in mind as well for when you look at what you're planning to do with Russia. Now, if you do sanctions, if there are sanctions brought against Russia, the thing to remember is Russia can then start trading with Iran, because if you put them in Russia, they have no reason no longer not to start trading with Iran, including the oil for military help. Also, China, with the Russia, has already been pushing and trying to get away from the US dollar as the world currency, and also having it tied to the oil. So now, if you start throwing sanctions up against Russia and other stuff, well, they might just start working out deals with China and saying, here's our currency, and forcing Europe, because Europe gets most of its natural gas from Russia through the Ukraine. So you give Russia, you piss them off a lot, then China say, hey, we're going to deal with this currency instead. So Europe, you want your natural gas? This is how you're going to buy it. If not, you don't get any natural gas, and you freeze in the wintertime. Again, that's just pushing things more and more towards unpleasantness. But these are things you have to start taking into consideration before you just say, hey, force Putin to go the way we want him to do, or else. Well, the or else is not good for everyone else either. So that's where the problem lies. Like I said, I don't agree with Putin. I don't agree with the U.S. military interventions in a lot of places either. But on an upper international political scale, you've got to get past those things to try to work out what's actually better for people. Now, The poor Ukrainians, I know, are the ones stuck in the middle, because now you've got U.S. in the West and Russia again playing back and forth with the people that are trying to get rid of a corrupt dictator, which thankfully they got rid of. But if we leave them alone to try and work out their own problems, that'd be better. But now Russia probably will not do that because they have a base in Crimea, Sevastopol. They again do their natural gas goes through the pipeline goes through Ukraine, so they have a vested interest to make sure that those facilities keep running. So I don't have an answer of what can be done. I'm just saying, don't just start saying let's go to war, let's force economic sanctions on them. There's other alternatives we should be looking at. Don't just start going right away with the make them do what we say our way or else, because the or else they can bring that up to us as well.